I'm going to call to order the East Brandywine Township Board of Supervisors AM meeting Thursday, August 7th, 2025. It is 9:03 a.m. A recording device will be used during this meeting. I'm going to open the meeting with a pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, public comment for agenda items, rules for conduct of public meetings established by Resolution 2001-08. The time allocated to each individual making a comment shall be 3 minutes unless otherwise set by the presiding officer. Additional public comment may be granted at the discretion of the presiding officer at the conclusion of the meeting. Okay, do we have any on agenda items? I see none. We're going to move on to the minutes of the previous meeting. Kyle, did you get a chance to review them?
Yes, I did.
Okay, you all right with those minutes? You have any comments?
Yep, I am.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve them. You get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. We'll move on to the treasurer's report. I looked over the treasurer's report. I looked over the checks. They looking okay. Do you have any questions, Kyle?
Nope.
Okay. You want to make a motion?
Sorry, can you make the motion because
I'll
it's
make a
breaking up a
motion to
little?
approve the treasurer's report. I get a second?
And I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I don't see any old business. We've got some new business, EBYA additional ball fields. Sandy, you want to?
John Montgomery.
John, hi John.
Representing EBYA.
Okay,
I have some visuals, if it's okay.
great, thank you.
I downloaded the visuals. If there were the ones that were online, I can see them too.
I did take them.
The board can see. Okay, there it is. Looks, everybody can see that?
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. I'm John Montgomery from I am the president of EBYA. Speaking to this one.
I can hear him fine.
Oh, you can hear him? Okay. President of EBYA, and I am here to share plans for reconfiguring some of the ball fields in the park for various reasons. I won't go into them unless you have questions, but I'll share with you what the proposed plans are, and then field any questions you may have from there, if that's okay.
Fine.
Okay. Primarily, this is soccer field 6, baseball, softball field C, and this is where most of the work is going to be happening, which has some changes to, the way the park is laid out. I shouldn't say laid out, but changes to, primarily there is a drainage swale that runs runs entirely around the field 6. Our intention is to install a drainage swale, a cauldron pipe in this swale, backfill it so that it reaches field level right here. One of the challenges of this field 6 for soccer is that they only use it for a practice field on occasion, a spillover practice field, because when balls are hit out of bounds, they go into the swale, and retrieving those is just difficult for them. So the soccer organization has said, hey, we'd love to see you go ahead and use that as a additional baseball field in the park. But part of that is also going back to this Field C right here, which is now configured like a Major League Baseball field. We're providing youth athletics. We have Field D down here, which is used by older kids that play on that Major League Baseball field. So what we're intending to do is to reduce the outfield footprint of this field and make it a 200-foot fence as opposed to the 380-foot fence that it is right now, so that it's more conducive to play for younger kids. The soccer organization is comfortable with the fact that if they get displaced on Field 6 as a practice field, using that extra space in the outfield of Field C would suffice for them, and they're fine with that. So most of the other work we're doing is not disruptive to anywhere where it's not disruptive to any swales and that sort of thing. It's just regular maintenance that we would be doing to any of these fields as we use them. So that is the purpose of me being here, is to present that and seek understanding and approval to go ahead and start moving forward with work.
So at this, okay.
Yeah.
So at this time, you haven't really gotten into any of the engineering with regards to the drain pipe. Matt, have you looked at this?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
And I also asked Pannoni, our township engineer, to take a look at it. And I believe the only comment they had was to make sure that the pipe is properly sized to handle the stormwater that drains into that area.
John, can you put that other sheet up?
I'm sorry, yes, there's another
Okay.
sheet.
It's the one that you have,
Yeah.
what you're going to wind up
This one
with.
right here.
Okay. So that shows the existing condition swale.
Correct.
Okay. And then is there one on this back side as well, Matt?
Backside.
I guess it would be facing east towards the road.
Yes, there is.
Okay.
The swale continues around both sides.
So it goes all the way
and then-
around.
And then goes into a basin, which is located on the north side of that soccer field.
So his sketch, John's sketch showed a 24-inch pipe that would put in place to eliminate this swale.
Just the swale on the south side.
On
of
the
that.
south side, then that will be graded to field level so that you can get back and forth without having to travel over that
Correct.
old swale.
Plus, I believe they're looking for an area for people who want to watch the game to sit there and watch the game.
Yeah, makes sense. So, I mean, obviously, when it's engineered, you're gonna have maintenance access inlets, so you can service that pipe as needed.
I did fail to mention that. I'm going to go back to one drawing real quick. And so there are two other things that are going on here, and I apologize for overlooking it. We're primarily intending to use this for our youngest group of kids. It is our quickball group of kids. What we like about this field is that you can look down from above.
Yeah.
The most attendee draw is to our younger kids. There's grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, that sort of thing. Some of our grandparents may not want to get down to field level, but be able to observe the game from looking down upon it. But for those that do, I forgot to mention that there's also a proposed 12-foot stairway that's going to go from the parking lot area right about here down to field level.
Yeah.
I do have specs on that, as well as to your point here. We are also going to install a utility access road right here, so that, yes, we can get to any maintenance that needs to be done to this cauldron pipe, and also maintenance on that field.
All right, any emergencies? Okay.
The access road is temporary,
Oh,
but they own in there and then covering with topsoil and seed that area. So they have ability to for future access.
Makes sense to me.
Okay. The spec for the pipe right here. Again, Mr. Van Loo can probably aid me in discussing the spec of this pipe a little bit better, as this is not an area of my expertise.
I'm familiar with that pipe material that's typically used in this project, so we don't have to dig into that detail.
Okay. And then finally, for the proposed stairs, they are permanent stairs, but then can be removed and repositioned, made up of these concrete steps right here.
Okay.
They can be installed, on crushed stone and that sort of thing. Exactly how they go about doing it, I'm not 100% sure, but the contractor that we're working with really likes this, because he said if you ever need to remove them, they can be removed and actually repurposed somewhere else.
Without demoing the steps.
Correct.
Take them out as.
Yep. And repurpose should you want to do that. So we like that too.
Yeah. Okay. I don't have any other questions. I think it makes sense.
Okay?
If I may, I believe Park and Rec is in favor of the project also.
Yeah. I like it.
John and his contractor, Sean Bryant, made a wonderful presentation to us at a special meeting for Park and Rec. And one of the things that we like also is EBYA is going to pay the bill. They have put a lot of money into all the fields at the community park as well as at Spatola, and support our township that way. So it's a win-win for all of us.
Good. Kyle, you have any questions?
I think my only question is the road. I know you said you're going to cover it with topsoil. How long is that road?
I would have to guess, not knowing exactly what it is, but what I will do is describe it as it would be going from Dilworth Road to the end of that swell. I would estimate that to be about 30 to 50, probably closer to 50 feet.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Because if it was going to be a maintenance periodically, I don't know if that topsoil is going to hold up over that stone. The reason what I was thinking is Matt probably knows about the egg crates.
Yes. That is what is intended to go over the crushed stone, and then when they backfill it, it will be that, I guess you refer to it as egg crate. I've seen it done in other access roads where they don't want it to be a permanent road and have the topsoil over it. So yes, there would be that egg crate material put in there, and then
Okay.
and leveled off so that mowers and other things can just go right over it and not be obstructed in any way.
Understood.
Okay. So at this point, what do you need from us? Just
As long as we have approval, I am going to contact Sean Bryan again
Okay.
and start scheduling the work to be done, as long as it's...
so we need a motion, Kristen? Just-
Yeah, I mean, is there any sort of agreement in place right now that gives them the right to use these fields? Or do you feel there's any need to do any sort of
Well, I think we'll have to defer that to Luke.
Well,
I
there,
think we do have something.
it probably deals with when they're allowed to use the field. It doesn't deal with,
Right.
I mean, it doesn't hurt to have, I mean, not that I'm not saying people don't trust people, nobody expects anything to go wrong until it goes wrong. So, two questions I had is there any permitting needed? I know you mentioned Pannoni looking at it, but is there a permit needed for the installation of this pipe?
Yeah, so it is a change to an approved stormwater system. So yes, it will need to be reviewed by Cedarville.
Okay.
It is both a disturbance over 5,000 square feet, and it is an addition of new impervious.
So a stormwater permit would be needed. Okay.
Correct.
So,
But I want to answer your first question as well as it relates to agreements. There are field use
Yeah.
agreements that pertain to like rights of first refusal on who
Right.
gets use of the fields and who maintains the surfaces of the fields. I know of no provision for an agreement relating to capital improvements on the fields.
right, so maybe it doesn't have to be so much a formal agreement, so much as a letter from the township if the board were to approve this today, and the letter could outline the conditions, number one would be issuance and obtaining all necessary permits. Two would be making sure that the contractor and the EBYA have sufficient insurance at minimum amounts that the township would specify. Restoration, maybe you need to understand when they're going to be doing the work, maybe some sort of them providing to you some sort of written schedule so you can alert the public about it. Like, I don't know how the construction activities are going to impact the use of the fields or the use of the park generally. Maybe that's something you guys all know about, but should coordinate. So there's a couple things I think that maybe just in a document, sort of letter back from Luke on behalf of the board to the organization, that would be fine. And then EBYA and its contractors were signing off on that, saying that, yes, those are the rules that we'll follow. That would be my suggestion.
Okay. So today, I mean, are we doing a resolution, like a?
I think you just motion that
Just
you
a
and Kyle
motion.
are comfortable with them proceeding in the.
General concept.
Yep,
Yeah.
and that you
So-
would ask your staff to memorialize that approval and provide the necessary conditions for them to sign off on.
Sure, all right, so now I'll try to make that motion that we're in general agreement and approval of the concept of the project with the conditions as stated by Chris.
Right.
And I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
then I will just wait for correspondence from Luke and follow suit.
Yeah,
I'll be putting together a letter that describes what needs to be done, what the scope of work is, and a timeline.
Okay, yeah, which is fine, and
yes, Dennis, I'm
How
sorry.
would you guys, I just had a question to ask this gentleman. I didn't know if he was going to be leaving. But I noticed that over the years, there's been a lot of emphasis on the soccer fields, the baseball fields, and tennis courts, which are now kind of combined with the pickleball court. Is there any future interest in the township having a basketball nets as well, or court, as well as like a skateboard park? Because there's quite a few kids that do that. Honeybrook just put one in, and Westchester has one. There's always a lot of emphasis on many soccer fields, but that only, covers a certain aspect of the community. And it is, community park. So my question is there anything down the road that the township would consider for other kids or something of that nature?
Well, we can address
I'll
that.
address that.
Yep.
We're under constraints with the Brandywine Conservancy of the property for impervious surface. So anytime we put anything in, such as a basketball court or a skateboard, that takes away from the impervious surface, and we're already pretty well maxed out on that. So there really would not be space for those this time. Matt or Luke, if you want to address that further.
Well, I'll just to add on to the point, the community park is made up of 3 parcels of land all acquired from the Brown family. And those parcels are subject to conservation easements that restrict the uses. And it is in that context, we're talking about maximum impervious. It's an easement on the land, not related to the township's stormwater ordinance. So that's my friendly amendment to what you said.
So with regards to any future expansions, that would come at a later date or a later conversation, but not really for this topic that we have in front of us right now.
I will say that the township's comprehensive plan adopted in 2023 does call for an update to the township's park and recreation plan. There is a master plan for open space and recreation that needs updating. So it was the dialogue about amenities and parks was identified as a thing that needed further discussion in our comprehensive planning experience of the last decade. So
based on the conversations that we just had, it sounds like we were limited to some of the things that we can actually do at the park based on the underlying agreements that have been put in place with the Conservancy. So does that help you understand?
Yeah, when I was up there the last time, there was like 26 soccer nets, and I thought, well, it's a community park, how many kids actually play soccer here, or is it set up for the outgoing, outside township for people coming in and play? Would there be consideration of taking away one of the soccer fields in lieu of giving some other kids opportunities to have played a sport that they're interested in.
Yeah.
I know that EBYA makes money on the fields and that's things like that, but not everybody has that sport in their lifestyle. So I'm just,
I mean, I would
I'm
suggest
questioning for the other
at
children.
any time that Parks and Recs has their meeting, maybe you can attend that meeting
Okay.
and have conversation with Parks and Recs directly, and then they can just, take that information and take it to the next
If I may,
step.
I'll just answer one question. Our soccer organization is our biggest organization in DBYA. It's very popular. It draws a spring and a fall crowd. We turn away kids. So soccer is, in essence, very popular and does drive a lot of our ability to do the kind of maintenance that we do on all of these fields. Not to say that we want to exclude anybody, but at the same time, we're turning kids away from soccer. We just get registered. We just don't have enough volunteers to actually host all the kids that actually want to play soccer at the
And those children or families have to pay to compete or be there to play, correct? It's not free to the public.
No, it's not free to the public, no. And yes, but I mean, we are a 501c organization, and a lot of the excess funds that we have goes to these types of field, continuing ongoing field maintenance that EBYA as an organization occurs.
Okay. All right. I think that's it. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to move on to the next order of business is the annual stormwater presentation. I believe we have Amanda. I'll let you.
Right up here?
Yep, right up there, and then let's have your name and your information.
Do I click on here, or is that kind of controlled by your...
There is a wireless mode.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Amanda Reitbauer. I work with Cedarville Engineering Group. I'm here with Sam today to give the township's annual MS4 stormwater program update. So not only is it our MS4 program, Sam and myself, we also are comprised with other environmental scientists who you'd be familiar with and involved in the program. My role in the MS4 program is the program manager, oversee all the contract requirements and overall tasks that the township is required to comply with for the permit. You'll be seeing Sam a lot as the technical lead, probably see him out in the field doing inspections and whatnot in the municipality, and along with Vivian and Jack as well. So that's a little bit about our team and our involvement here. Sam's going to run through a review of the township's MS4 program as a whole, where we stand with the permit status, where we got with the PRP progress, and then looking forward to what's coming next, and then also a recap of the audit that the township recently just had.
Good morning, everyone. Try to keep this short and sweet for you because I know MS4 is everyone's favorite topic. Wrong way. So just to remind everyone, MS4 is a state mandated program that's ran through the state, but it's a federal mandated system. The goal of it is to reduce pollutants entering our waterways and eventually our other downstream estuaries like Chesapeake Bay, Delaware Bay. It's to protect water quality for everyone involved, the recreational users and the aquatic wildlife that inhabit our streams, rivers, ponds. The program is broken up into minimum control measures. We have MCM1, public education outreach, which is satisfied by the township making information available to the public by including it in township newsletters, adding it to the website, and having informational flyers in the township office. Public involvement and participation is MCM2, which is soliciting the public to join in the discussion. So having a public meeting where we discuss stormwater like this and having the public be able to attend and ask questions meets the requirement for your public involvement participation. You can also satisfy this requirement through your cooperation with the Brandywine Red Clay Alliance and the events that they host. MCM3, illicit discharge detection elimination, which is anything that goes into a storm drain and then eventually goes through an outfall that's not supposed to, that's not stormwater. Through this, every 5 years, we inspect all the outfalls. We do enhanced analysis to see if there's any outfalls that are higher risk of having illicit discharges, and then we inspect them more regularly. And we also log illicit discharges that have been reported through either the state, county, or directly to the township. Construction site stormwater runoff control is managed through the Conservation District. That's any Chapter 102 permit. That's a disturbance over an acre. Once those are converted to post-construction stormwater management, which is our stormwater basins, our infiltration beds, and even the less than 1 acre small project BMPs that are installed when people do things like pools or decks. That goes under MCM 5. That requires annual inspection of it and reporting and enforcement to make sure that those BMPs are functioning correctly. MCM 6, pollution prevention and good housekeeping, is geared towards the Public Works Department and ensuring that the municipality is ensuring the property they own is not polluting the streams. So having Public Works follow good housekeeping practices, keeping a clean shop, making sure there's spill kits available, where and how they do vehicle maintenance. And then an extra component to it is the pollution reduction plan, which is currently, East Brandywine has 2 impaired streams that they have a pollution reduction plan for, Culbertson Run and the unnamed tributary to Beaver Creek, which are impaired for siltation and sedimentation. So you have additional projects that have been put in place to maintain that sediment. Now, I'm sure many of you are aware that the permit cycle for the MPDS permit is a 5-year term, so it goes from 2018 to 2024. So technically, the permit did expire on August 31st, 2024, and the state is currently in process of transitioning to a new permit format and updating the requirements for it. So everyone's permit has been extended until October 1st, 2026 is when we expect the new permits to be rolled out. Currently, you have received a draft permit from the state that was put out for public comment. The public comment period closed in March, and the DEP is preparing the response for the public comment before enacting the new permits in 2026. So what that means for us is we are acting under the previous permit until 2026 when the new permit is finalized. All annual reports and annual activities are supposed to be ran as if it was still in the last permit cycle. With the new permit and the initial draft publication, we have found there are some changes. A lot of them don't really affect our clients like East Brandywine Township because they're already meeting the requirements of the new permit. So changes to MCM3 include stricter language for additional annual screenings. Basically, they're defining what is a priority outfall, so which outfalls need to be screened annually and not every 5 years. Currently, East Brandywine has 2 priority outfalls that are screened annually. Under the new definition, we haven't looked into yet to see how many new outfalls will be added. Other things that changed is illicit discharge detection and elimination, the IDDE or MCM3 specific ordinance. Your current 2022 ordinance already encompasses that. Specific MCM3 education publications annually, which typically you guys do in your newsletter, and you have the information already on the website. And they're requiring better logging of inspections and enforcement, which we already do through our comprehensive GIS mapping that we have set up on web maps for the Public Works Department and that Cedarville uses through our inspections. MCM4 and MCM5, which is your construction and post-construction stormwater management, the state is encouraging that municipalities reach out to conservation districts to enter a memorandum of understanding of who is responsible for what. So if this county is governing your 102 permits and then doing NOTs for them to go to PCSM, who's enforcing what? So is the county, because I guess some municipalities think the county is still responsible to provide enforcement of PCSM BMPs. So the new requirement in 2026 will be that there should be a written agreement between the county and the township.
Can I ask about who's taking the lead on that? That seems like every municipality is going to want that. Is it the conservation district that's going to initiate trying to put an agreement together?
In the initial draft, it does not say that the conservation district is supposed to reach out to the municipalities, which I personally think that would make sense because Chester County Conservation District has how many townships? So are they really going to have each township reach out and try to do a separate process? They don't have that many people that work for the conservation district. So I assume, or I would expect, the conservation district would probably have a standard memorandum of understanding that they send out to their municipalities. But that is my assumption, not what is written in the draft report and is currently unknown.
Yeah, Luke, I don't know if you participate in any manager consortiums, that maybe that's something that you guys take up as a conversation to see how we get that process rolling, because it doesn't make sense for every municipality to create their own, so. I mean, maybe somebody can take the lead in trying to pull it together, but it seems like once it's done, it can be shared and distributed.
Yeah, I think similar to the 2022 ordinance update, I think they'll have kind of like a guidance, like I said, a template that we can all, I'm assuming that's what's going to happen. Actually attending a training next week through the state on some of these updates, so hopefully I get some more information.
Because the county's not going to have that kind of staffing.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just the normal solicitor's office of the county that helps the conservation district, or if there's a separate solicitor, but it definitely is something we can put on our radar to try to make some phone calls.
Good news though, you have until 2028 to enter to get that ball rolling. So you do have time to prepare, and we won't know exactly what's expected for another year. So good to have it on the radar now, but we definitely have time to prepare and adapt and actually get a plan set once we have final instructions from the state. Along with the memorandum of understanding for 2028, I'll skip ahead a bullet point, the 2022 stormwater ordinance that Amanda just brought up will be updated to a 2028 model ordinance from the county model ordinance. So we'll have to have that on the radar too for 2028.
Is the county going to take the lead on that again, like they did?
That's, the language was a county-wide model ordinance. So I'm assuming like 2022, the county will develop their model ordinance to distribute it to municipalities, and the counties or townships will adopt that model ordinance.
That comes from the Water Resource Authority, not the Conservation District.
Okay.
That's who writes that ordinance.
And I know that April, I think, was on that committee. Yeah.
PRPs, which I just mentioned about Culbertson Run and unnamed tributary to Beaver Creek, are going away. They're being replaced with volume management plans. So instead of having the pollution reduction or the specific pollutant, so right now you're trying to reduce your sediment load into your streams, it's going to be switched to a volume reduction, which is I'm optimistic for, because they also are implementing a MEP, or maximum extent practicable, which weighs townships' socioeconomic status and ability to basically adjust how much it changes what your goal is based off what you can reasonably afford. And then another change is with annual reports, typically when you submit your annual report, that counts as your NOI to renew or continue your MS4 permit. They are now requiring, starting 2026, that we submit a separate NOI along with the annual report.
Can I ask a question? Are these all coming from a change in DEP regulations? Is that what this is all stemming from?
From the new permit cycle?
Yeah.
Is this an actual change in the DEP regulations that are relating to the MS4s?
Right, that's why there's a lag in permit approval for the next round is,
They
there's
want to
more
implement-
changes happening, yeah.
They want to implement these new regulations? Okay,
Yes.
I understand, thanks.
Going further into the maximum extent practical, or MEP, so it weighs in things like the lowest quantile household income for your municipality as well as the state, the poverty rate in your municipality, how much total revenue your municipality has versus how much debt you have in your reserves, as well as your standard utility bills and how much you tax your residents. So I see this as only really going to reduce. So the state currently has, through their analysis, they determined it's like 1 inch of water over an acre costs $200,000 to treat or mitigate for the volume. So the goal is to reduce it to a level that the township can comfortably afford through their remediation practices or their volume management plan. This was rolled out and is available online. If any of you are interested and want to play with it, yeah, you can put in the numbers that you guys have for your municipality, or if you want us to, we can definitely do that as an exercise moving forward with some preliminary numbers. Key dates to recap for the new permit cycle: September 30th, 2026. NOI submissions are due along with annual reports. October 1st, 2026 is the anticipated rollout for the new permits. And then September 30th, 2028, your volume management plan and ordinance updates are due. So we're talking about our volume management plan, but what about the PRP that we're not done yet? Your PRP for Culbertson Run and unnamed tributary to Beaver Creek currently requires that you reduce 25,418 pounds per year of sediment. Out of that, you have to reduce 25,389 and a half pounds per year of sediment based under your current pollution reduction plan, which is still being implemented. You're going to reduce 25,418, exceeding your requirement by about 40. You have 9 BMPs installed that are basically accounting for 2/3 of your pollution reduction plan. Those include the swales and infiltration beds at Hawthorne Drive that were installed a couple years ago. And the last segment of your pollution reduction plan is the Culbertson Run stream restoration at Hadaway Farms. This is currently at 30% design and has been submitted for Growing Greener grant application in June. So pending the completion of this, we'll have completed the PRP requirement, and then we'd close out all the requirements for this past permit year, or permit cycle. And then just to recap, because we're going through the annual reports right now to submit next month, pulling all the information together for that. You guys have met the requirement of MCM1 public education outreach this year by providing free information through your website and your township office, as well as publishing it in the newsletter. I believe you had one newsletter article, and then you have a soiree of available media on your website and at the front desk as well. I think you put things in your welcome packet. MCM2, the public involvement. You cooperate with Brandywine Red Clay Alliance, so you get credit for their stormwater related events, and you hosted a week-long recycling event in May that we are citing as a public involvement, as well as any meetings where stormwater was mentioned that the public are invited to. Those meeting minutes are included as supporting documentation that you're engaging with your community. MCM3, your illicit discharge detection. We screened your 2 priority outfalls that you have. There was no illicit discharges observed. We did have this past year a resident report their neighbor for an illicit discharge. That was brought to Matthew's attention, forwarded to us. We investigated it and then sent it to the Conservation District, or not Conservation District, County Health Department, because we believed it to be a sewage discharge. The Health Department followed up, did dye testing, and has been going through the enforcement process with that homeowner, determining it was discharge from showers, toilets, and washing machine. MCM4, I did not get any new NOTs from the county to add to the PCSM inventory. We inspected 29 PCSM BMPs this year, and for MCM6, good housekeeping, we had a successful DEP audit. They came down, we walked through the facility, we went through last year's annual report. No violations were cited. They did provide 2 pieces of, or recommendations or requests that are not enforceable, but they were already abided by. They asked that we add drainage area to our BMP inventory, and they requested that we make the report an illicit discharge button easier to find on the website. And that wraps up our year of MS4.
Okay. Any questions? Kyle, you have anything?
I think my only question was if sediment is going to increase in new construction areas, is that going to affect different townships in different ways near if they have a higher construction rate?
Your requirement to reduce your sediment load on your streams is a result of the DEP's survey on, it's the integrated stream report. So they are determining impairments for streams. So if streams were to be determined to be impaired for sediment in the future, then townships would, well, I guess they wouldn't have to, because we're going away with PRPs, or the pollution reduction plans that specifically require sediment reduction. But the increase of construction and earth disturbance, I wouldn't foresee increase the sediment load, because they should have construction sediment controls on site to prevent it from leaving site.
I would just caution with West Brandywine starting a lot of new construction, it would filter some of it, some way, somehow would filter into East Brandywine, and I think we should be diligent on that.
That's a good point.
Anything else? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we don't have any subdivision or zoning applications. We have ordinance and resolution for consideration. This will go to Kristen.
Thank you. So this is an ordinance that I guess you guys have been working on for quite some time. It's actually an amendment to your zoning and then an adoption of a totally new Chapter 165. The purpose is to remove your timber harvesting and your woodland protection logging standards from your zoning and to place it into a standalone new Chapter 165. Because you are impacting your zoning ordinance, the township has to follow standards and requirements that the municipality's planning code calls out. So I do this is a public hearing, and I do want the record to reflect and the minutes to reflect that we did follow those procedures. The first is that we advertised this morning's hearing in the Daily Local News on July 21st and July 28th, 2025. I have proof of publication of that I'll provide to Lisa. The second is that our paralegal sent a copy of the full ordinance to the Daily Local News for public inspection. She did that in an email on July 10th, 2025. Because it's zoning, the Chester County Planning Commission has to receive a copy. They provided comments back to the township in a letter of June 2nd, 2025, and they actually support what the board is doing here. And then the last exhibit, B4, your own planning commission has to review this ordinance, and they did so at their meeting on June 4th, 2025. Again, this was something that started back, I believe, in 2018. The idea was to follow PA model forestry regulations almost verbatim. There are a couple of minor changes, but the ordinance is very straightforward. You're removing section 399-102.1 from zoning. You're removing in all of the different zoning districts, you currently have forestry listed as a use by right. We're taking that out in those various districts, but then putting in a new section, 399-87.1, which is titled forestry. And that section will say that forestry is a permitted use in all zoning districts by right. And then the last section of the ordinance adopts a new chapter 165 to the East Brandywine Code, and that is titled Forestry Regulations. And again, just identifies all the standards that have to be followed if somebody wants to timber their property. Happy to answer any questions.
Seeing no questions, I guess. Kyle, you have anything?
I do not.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 1 of 2025, woodland protection and logging standards. Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. The next thing we have is public comment on non-agenda items. Dennis, come on up to the podium.
Actually, today is a twofold situation, which these people happen to be here today, so it's a perfect situation. I'm Dennis Whiteley, co-owner of Guthriesville Tire and Service, which we also own 1199 Horseshoe Pike, right at the intersection here of 322 and Bondsville Road, Hopewell Road. So what we're incurring right now is an erosion issue, and if I'd like to show this to the people from Cedarville. I don't know whether you can put that up there or not. That was my nicely sodded front yard that we built this place 6 years ago. What we're incurring is erosion because the water runoff, since they widened Hopewell Road, is now missing the culvert, which is right here at the bottom of my finger. And it's running across my yard, and I happen to have a drain out here that was for our use as when it was a gas station since the 30s, okay? That was concrete. This got overseeded and it got getting sod put in. So I'm incurring this issue, and I had been to the township, which we were here several months ago, trying to encourage the township to put a curb in as part of the intersection being redeveloped by way of Pulte, okay? So with that being said, you can see my concern here is because prior to widening Hopewell Road and increasing the height of the Sunoco across the street, we now have runoff that comes down, doesn't go into any of the drains, and runs right across our property and erodes the property. And that runs right into this clean Class A stream right here, right in front of the firehouse. So, whatever help you guys could give me, it would be great. I came to the township, they didn't want to be involved. I contacted PennDOT, they don't want to be involved. So this is a concern that you're here for today, and this is my concern. It's great that you're here. I'd be more than happy afterwards to stay, and if we have something to discuss, or if we'd like to drive there, it's only, a quarter of a mile down the road here. It's right at the intersection, so I'd gladly go over this with you, okay? So I appreciate any input you could give me, but it would be helpful in any way to resolve a problem that we never, ever had. I've had this property since I was 22 years old. I'm 63, I'll be 64 next week. So this current problem is something that has happened as to the development of East Brandywine Township, okay? This was never a problem before. So with that being said, if you could be helpful, that would be greatly appreciated, okay? All right, so moving on. The issue that we have right now is we were approached by the township because they're needing to move the red light from the corner where it's at now, and they're going to need to have access to extending the right-of-way into my yard. So with that being said, I had my counsel and my developer that does all my properties. I said, hey, come out here and take a look at this, and let's see if we have to put a curb here to resolve this water runoff problem, what kind of money are we looking at? And they said, well, the engineering, PennDOT, we're looking at like 30 grand, okay? So with that being said, when the township approached me and said, we would like to give you a nominal fee, which was sent to us by, I guess it was Tom Alsty, is that correct? Is that how you pronounce his name?
SD.
Esty, okay. So, according to this, it says attached is a signal easement, blah, 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 and then also it says, we would like to pay a nominal consideration to void condemnation proceeding. So with that being said, I said, okay, 30,000, that sounds like a good number. I can resolve my problems, the township can pay out the 30 grand, it's a wash, everybody wins. My counsel said, no, that won't work, they won't pay that kind of money. I said, well, how about 20 grand? He says, well, they probably won't do that either. And I said, okay, so if they say they're going to condemn the property, what kind of money does that cost? Because obviously there's some time and effort involved. And he said, a minimum of $10,000. I said, okay, well, let's just say $10,000. So we get a reply back from the township that they're willing to pay $1,200, okay? So obviously that's completely out of range, considering the fact that over the years, when I've had to pay, an $11,000 building permit fee, or I had to pay $3,500 for variances, I never came back to you guys and said, I know you want 11 grand for a building permit, but how's $1,100 sound? That sounds fair to me. So all the years that I've been paying for everything that I had to do, now the township has something that I have that they need. I'm willing to go back to the $30,000 as part of the deal and have the township pay what's needed to fix the problem. I'm not asking for anything more. I'm open for debate, I'm open for questions, and that's where I'm at. So, whatever you guys feel is fair, I'm still up for being fair. I've been fair all along. When I had to do my stormwater management, when I did my development there on that corner, I met all the criteria. This is not my water, it's everybody else's water. So with that being said, I'm trying to salvage the prettiest, newest building in this township and trying to protect it. And not at my cost, because the problem isn't mine. The problem is you guys. So with that being said, I'm open for discussion, however it wants to go down. But I'm not, if it has to be, I retire in 3 weeks. I'm selling my business, I'm retiring. I have all the time in the world. And if we want to go to court and fight this thing over and over and again, to prove a point, you see where that goes with the Cropper situation and this very building being condemned property for people to spend $8 million to put a township building in its spot. So I'm just willing to be open for discussion. So you guys tell me what works, and I'm willing to listen.
I don't think this is the appropriate forum for that. I mean, this
No,
turned into
I
a
mean,
legal
I
matter,
agree
but
with
I will say that it's not, the township can't just strike a deal with you. There's laws that, let me just finish. There's
Understood.
laws that they have to follow. There's an eminent domain code that outlines both a township's rights, that have the right to exercise eminent domain, and a property owner's rights. They cannot just make a deal. The $30,000 to put in a curb is not related to the property interest that they're seeking from you, so they can't just decide, oh, we'll pay for a $30,000 curb. So the law isn't as clear-cut as you're saying. Different fees that you've paid over time were lawfully imposed, and you paid them. So you're sort of mixing apples and oranges.
Okay.
You getting a stormwater permit, you getting a building permit, you paying for this. Those were things that the township had the right to charge you for under the various laws,
Okay.
and you complied. The township, if you're not willing to grant the easement that's needed, the 269 square foot signal easement, the township has to make a decision as to how it's gonna, if it wants to still acquire that easement, and it has to follow the law to do so. But they're constrained in terms of what they're permitted to offer you for that value of that interest.
And what formula does the township use to come up with that? And in other words,
It's an appraisal. They have to get an appraisal. So, and I don't know, I'm pinch hitting for my partner, Tom Esty, who's on vacation.
Right.
I did have a conversation with Luke in anticipation that you might be here so that I could speak somewhat intelligently.
Okay.
But I'm happy to, Tom will be back, we can speak about it, and we can then confer with the board, and somebody can get back to you. But
Okay.
don't think that conversation really is appropriate.
that's fine. I just wanted to bring it up to you guys because I don't know if you are informed as to what goes on, because what happens behind you, you don't know what happens at EBYA unless somebody tells you. You don't know what happens with the stormwater unless somebody tells you.
Yeah,
So,
but something
you know, I
like
have
this is a
two
legal
concerns
legal
here.
issue that I think Tom would have run the board, the board
Right.
is aware of it.
And when we get a building permit, is that built on a formula? Absolutely. I don't know what that formula is, but, who does the appraisal? Does the road crew guy do the appraisal? Is there an official guy that does it for the township? Because, this number came across to us like, okay, here's the crumbs we'll give you for what we need, but when we need something, you got to pay full value. So even though you might not see it as a valuable piece, it's not yours to give. If it was yours, that would be a different story, and it happens to be mine. So with that being said, I'm just trying to be
No one's
fair.
devaluing the importance of your land. I don't think that that's it. I'm just saying that there are standards under the law but which the township has to follow, that's all.
Sure.
And the only thing that I can add is that this is being imposed upon us by PennDOT. We did not want to get involved in acquiring these right-of-ways. They said we had to in order to make the improvements necessary at these intersections. Now, this has been going on for more than 20 years with regards to trying to improve the traffic situation and the safety for the general public. Because if someone gets seriously injured or worse at that intersection, which we all know it's the worst intersection in the township, you're going to be right back here saying, why didn't you do something to fix that intersection? So that's where we're at. There's not a whole lot we can do at this point to try to move this thing forward.
That's understandable. I know that, the township had said, well, this is what the value we see it as. You also have to remember that, as Luke had mentioned last time I was here, that, as far as the road improvement fees that all the builders and everybody, including myself, had to pay over the years, that money is sitting in an escrow account of some type, and that's to be used for moving the traffic. A red light is for moving the traffic. Okay, the curb isn't, and the water that would lay out there isn't, to keep the erosion from happening. But now we're talking about something that has to be put in place. With that being said, I have value of my property as well. So please don't downgrade my value of what I own for your needs. Okay, when you guys need something, I got to pay it. When I need something, that needs to be paid as well. I'm just looking for fairness, as the gentleman just said last month, Terry O'Neill, there's fairness and there's non-fairness, and I just want this to be fair with everybody. That's where I stand. So if you guys can make a time, or how can I contact with somebody, who would I contact to try to make this move in a direction that we can make something happen?
I would say
Where do I go from here?
Luke would be your contact.
If I may, the communication has happened between your council and Tom Estee.
Right.
I think that the communication should continue between your council and Tom Estee.
Okay. All right, well, that's fine. I appreciate your time. I'm glad that I was able to bring it to the attention of somebody other than your council, and that you guys know what's going on behind closed doors. That's all. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, notices, there was no executive sessions has been held prior to this meeting. Motion to adjourn. I'll make a motion to adjourn. I get a second.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.